Well, hello, welcome to the Skillwork Forum. I'm Tim. Generally, I'm joined with my partner Brett. On these podcasts, we talk about manufacturing, skilled trades, things around the skilled trades. But we're going to have a series of 3 podcasts that a little bit of a departure from what we normally talk about. We're going to bring in 3 organizations, really heroes in our local community that give back, that support various needs across our community, the heartland, where we call home here. And we're hoping that it inspires you and your organizations and gives you some ideas on how you might be able to get involved financially or with your employees to be able to really do things maybe above and beyond what we normally think about in running our businesses. So thank you very much for the opportunity to share these podcasts with you. Well, hello and welcome to the Skillwork Forum. My name is Tim Raglan. I'm the COO and one of the co-founders of Skillwork. Normally, I'm joining this podcast with my partner, Brett. We talk about issues and trends and things surrounding manufacturing and skilled trades and staffing. But right now, we're doing a focused series of 3 podcasts, really highlighting our heartbeat and hopefully yours as well, opportunities to give back to the local community, to give back to those organizations that make it their mission to help those in need. And today we have a couple of special guests with us. Dave Weininger, who is the executive director of Release Ministries, and joined here with Garrett Swanberg, who is director of operations at Release Ministries. And Release is an organization that, again, is near and dear to our hearts. It's a nonprofit, born really in response to the needs of youth here in our Omaha area. And today they support still youth, but families and all of the relationships around that through mentoring, mental health services, foster care, social work support, practical needs for young families. We're proud to partner with you guys, and we just want to welcome you to the Skillwork Forum and excited to have you with us today.
Well, thank you. It's a good for us to be here too.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about Release, how I got started, what I gave a kind of a high level overview. Tell us a little bit about what you guys do.
Well, we got started when a guy was looking for some work to do, just wanted to take care of kids. And so he went down to the Douglas County Youth Centers to see if they had anything there. And the Douglas County Youth Centers where the kids are incarcerated while they're waiting to decide what to do with them. Anywhere from, at that time, 250 kids were in there at a time.
Wow.
And he went down and he saw a couple of kids in shackles because they were going to court, because that's what they had to do when they took them to court. And he said, if they knew Jesus, they would be in shackles. It's just not right for a 14-year-old kid to be in shackles.
Right.
And they said, this is what God wants us to do.
When was that? What year was that? Was that
1994.
1994. So just one person answered a call to go down, and he saw a need, and from that sprang this amazing organization that still has that as your heartbeat.
That's right, 30 years later.
That's amazing. And Dave, how long have you been with Release?
I've been with Release as a volunteer for, I guess, 15 years, and on staff for 12.
And now you're leading the organization and into these, the times that we're in right now are as difficult or challenging as any. That what I hear from some of the partners that we deal with is about as challenging at times as we can remember.
I think they're right on that.
Yeah.
As challenging as anything that I've seen while we've been there.
So Garrett, how about from your perspective, director of operations? So I have a similar role. I focus on operations. What is that in Release? And tell us a little bit from your perspective. What's a heartbeat behind Release?
Sure. So I've been blessed to be around for a long time. So I've been with Release for about 23 years.
Wow.
And me and my wife, we started as volunteers. We were going into the facility, seeing the kids and working with them. And
to the correctional facilities?
Into the correctional facility, doing Bible studies, working with the kids. But after a little while, the organization they realized we needed to do more. So they wanted to open up some facilities, some residential homes for kids. And so me and my wife, we started doing that. We did that for about 6 years, and we realized, hey, we needed to do a little bit more. So we went from one home to 3 homes. After we left, I managed those homes. So I got to kind of build that program and see that. While we were doing that, we realized that there was a need. Kids were going back into the community and not getting all the help and support they needed. So we started doing social work in the community and helping kids and families out there. that was going really well. And we realized that there was a gap in the foster care system. We could help the kids, we could help their families, but the foster homes weren't equipped to work with some of the higher needs kids. So we started doing foster care. We were doing that for a little while. We realized in our community, there's a little bit of a mental health gap. And so we started doing mental health. And so all along, and the reason I was wanting to tell you that story is we didn't really have this like vision of what it was going to be. We saw that there was a need and we felt that God was putting it on our heart to try to do something about it. So we just kind of took the next step and that turned into something. And then we took the next step and that turned into something. And now I get to try to keep all those pieces moving, but it's been awesome. I love it. And so that's kind of the heartbeat is when we see that there is an area in our community where there are people hurting, where there's struggle, we usually go to say, hey, who's already doing that work? And we try to help them. And if there's no one doing that work, we see if it's something we're supposed to step in.
You step into the gap.
Yeah.
And, we've heard that common theme that the people that have been called into these sort of support organizations or ministries, it truly is a calling. And you just say, you're not necessarily trying to figure out how, you just say, okay, it's just yes. Our yes is on the table.
Exactly. Exactly.
So is that personally rewarding? You found it to be personally rewarding?
I'll let you go first. I already know my answer.
Very rewarding. I got involved. Garrett happens to be my son-in-law, and we had just moved back into town, and they had the group home going, and we just wanted to help. So kind of hung around with the kids and invited them over. There were a bunch of basketball players, the NBA fans, and we went through the playoffs. We moved in about the time the playoffs were going on. You just get to know them. They're kids. They're normal kids that haven't had resources, have had some bad experiences, and just fall in love with them. They're just normal kids that need help.
Yeah. Do you have any one story that you could think of? There was that kid that came that was, just other people had given up on him or her. And do you have any like stories where now you see that you've been 23 years, you must have seen some of these kids become adults, maybe even come back and work in the organization. I don't know.
Yeah, we've definitely had all kinds of those types of stories. It's hard. There's so many, it's hard to actually think of one particular one. Because one of our visions is that we want to steward Release to the point where, we're raising up leaders from the communities that we're helping to go ahead and be the leaders for the next generation. And so, like for right now, example, our director of mentoring, he had a very rough past, had some issues with incarceration, got out, received mentoring, worked as a member on our mentoring team, worked as a member of our social work team, and now he's directing our mentoring program as, someone who was one of the kids that we serve. So
that's great. That's a great story.
He's incredible at his job. He's killing it.
So my son-in-law, I got informed about your organization. He's a police officer here locally, and he's involved as a mentor. So talk about the power of mentoring just as a concept.
Sure.
How much emphasis do you guys put into that?
Yeah, I think probably to take a step back from the power of mentoring is, I would really talk about the power of relationships and the power of connection. Mentoring is just a formalized version of relationship and connection. What we have found is that there's nobody that can do this alone, whether that's in the professional world, whether that's getting out of jail, getting off drugs, being a dad. I believe we were built and designed for community and connection. And our world is broken. We as human beings, we're built for community and connection. It's part of our design. And due to the nature of our world, it's fractured. There's so many things that pull and tear those relationships apart.
Yeah.
What a mentor can do is it can be a intentional place of stability, specifically for somebody who maybe didn't get some of those organic relationships that were meant to be. So often our kids don't have fathers, for example, or they have mothers that maybe have severe issues. A mentor can really come in alongside and supplement that single parent and really walk through and help with everything. And so what's beautiful about our mentors is they do everything with the kids. Some of them, they sit down and do Bible study. Some of them, they shoot basketball. Some of them, they learn how to fix cars. Whatever the kid's interest is, we match them, and then that builds a relationship. And then the formal relationship is just something that's a conduit for the connection.
Yeah. So it sounds like, I know we'll talk a little bit about how people can practically support.
Sure.
I know, just dollars and funds are necessary, but your ministry, your outreach takes a lot of human capital too. It takes volunteer time, takes staff time, because you don't develop a mentor's relationship in an hour setting. Right. So what is your mix of volunteer support and, the hours you get from volunteers versus staff support that you're able to leverage?
Yeah. So we have a good amount of staff, but because we're nonprofit, it's really all about staff leveraging and building relationships with a larger number of volunteers. That lets us multiply our impact greatly. Our kind of general saying that we'd like to say is that everybody can do something. And so for opportunities for people to get involved, we have group opportunities. Sometimes a business or a school or something will want to come in as a group and all work together, and we have things, but we also have opportunities for one-on-one. So an individual person says, hey, I want to spend Wednesday evenings and go hang out with the kid at the park and do some mentoring there. We have regular partner stuff where maybe 2-3 people will go into a jail and do a Bible study or do some programming with kids. So we wanted to build our vision was we wanted a person's availability to not be a barrier to help. As a nonprofit, part of our service is to the community, not just the clients that we work with. And so we wanted to make it easy for anybody to work with us who had a desire to make a difference.
So in that vein, Dave, and I know this is how you and I got connected, is that, we're a company, we want to give back. How do we do that? So could you talk to what does it look like for partnerships with people that have maybe resources, financial resources? How do they get involved with Release? Or if they're not here in the local area on organizations like this, how do you recommend?
Well, the first thing is just contact us, and we'll find, just sit down, and most organizations have something that really drives them. Most companies, something that really is important to them, and we can normally help them fulfill that desire. It could be just several employees, a group of employees that want to do the mentoring, or it could be a care closet we have. It could be
care closet, meaning you guys have practical needs for people that can come in and shop, for lack of a better word.
Right. And we serve, over 1,000 this year already.
We're probably going to be 2,000 by the end of the year.
2,000.
Over that, yeah.
Yeah, 2,000 people.
That have come into the care closet?
Yeah.
Yep.
And so we have some ladies that want to work and help with a care closet, just want to sort. There's volunteer portions to do that. So
yeah, I mean, in your organization, Garrett, you talked about, first it was incarcerated youth, then it was, okay, what about when they get out, then foster care, so mental health. So depending on, what your passion is as a company, an organization like yours, you can apply it. And in your case, unashamedly faith-based as well. So your motivation is you're doing this, for higher calling. And we've talked to other people in your line of work, and it is more of a calling than a vocation, what you guys do.
Yeah.
So organizations can get involved even if they're not, maybe aligned with that. They can still provide support and help it.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that. How do you navigate that?
Well, and part of it is because of our motto that everybody can do something, that really means everybody. So you don't have, obviously a lot of our volunteers align with our values and our faith, and that's important to them, and that's why they choose to work with us. But a lot of people just understand the good that we're doing, and they want to be part of that. And so it's very normal for organizations that have nothing to do with the faith part of what we do. They recognize it's good for foster kids to get a Christmas present. And so they'll host a drive in their store or with their teams to bring in gifts for kids to have a place to go. There's a lot of kids that understand that new moms need diapers, and they'll buy diapers and give it to the closet. Or we even have some people who will mentor just because they remember what it was like growing up and not having somebody to talk to. And so we really believe that we can love people, meet our volunteers where they're at, but also we meet the clients where they're at.
Is the skilled labor shortage hurting your company's bottom line? Skillwork is the premier staffing agency focusing exclusively on skilled labor. Our team of highly skilled workers augments your existing teams for elevated impact and decreased downtime. Partnering with hundreds of facilities in more than 30 states, we deploy our traveling industrial technicians to work for you on a contract basis. Our philosophy is simple: to honor God in all we do, bring respect back to the skilled trades, and positively impact those around us. For more information on how Skillwork can deliver the top labor talent you need, visit skillwork.com or call us at 402-447-7058. Call us today to see how Skillwork can work for you.
What's the landscape of what you do look like right now? Do you see needs on the rise? Are there more challenges? We hear all the time mental health issues are on the rise. Give us a sense of, from your perspective, what do you see? Is it in your 23 years and how long you've been there, Dave? Does it look like the needs are continuing to expand?
Yes. You have this idea that we're going to get involved and we're going to take care of all the needs.
You're going to solve it.
We're going to solve it. Yeah, I know. It's like, hey, we've been doing this 30 years. Why haven't we solved this? But even over the last couple of years, we've just seen more and more needs out there. And so, yeah, we're never going to get rid of those needs. We understand that. And so, yeah, we have a lot of people that are giving of clothing, a lot of people that are just finding, what church is coming around to help just have their youth come in and serve and get an understanding, get a little bit of view of that.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different things that we're doing that really anybody can do something. There's almost always something to be done that's there.
What are you most proud of that Release does or has done? And I mean, that's a pride. We're not prideful, but I mean, something you could say, look, there's, in the case of Release, this is God really doing an amazing thing in this area. Or something like that.
I'm so proud of what started 30 years ago with a heart for doing these things and really putting families first, putting kids first, and living sacrificially for them, and that we're still doing that very thing. I mean, I'm just saying the heart of the two people that really first went into the DCYC was to serve and just, kids should be free, kids should be better. Yeah. And our organization has been able just to embody that and continue just to have that same desire just to sacrificially love kids and their families as well.
Yeah. But the focus started with youth. And I mean, that picture of no kid should be in shackles, physical shackles or economic shackles or spiritual shackles.
Exactly.
I mean, and it's a great blessing that you guys continue to pour out into our community. So speak to the people out there that may be listening that are, wondering, how do we get involved? What's a way that an organization, regardless of where they are, can get involved and maybe inspire their employees to be involved? What would you say to inspire?
Well, I feel like I have quite a bit to say on this because we work with some incredible businesses and companies like yourself, but a lot of them that this is exactly what they do. And I think the first thing that I would do is I get your leadership team together. I try to figure out what you care about, because there is probably somebody in your community right now that cares about the same things you care about, and they're struggling because it's hard out here for the nonprofits to try to figure out how to get through all of the troubling times. It's hard for businesses. And so I think if you figure out what you care about, that's a good place to start. The second thing I think I would recognize and talk to your leadership team about is the reality that this will be a sacrifice. Like it's a sacrifice to help, but that sacrifice will repay dividends beyond what it costs you. But you can't do it for what you're going to get out of it. You do it because you care about it.
Right.
But to recognize that the second thing that comes with that is when we are willing to move towards another person's need sacrificially out of love, we often get much, much more out of that partnership than they do. So those would be my first two things. The second one is you should just get on Google and start looking for who's out there. And if you call them up and say, hey, I'm a local business, we're looking for a way to get involved. Is there anything we can do to help? They will tell you. And if they don't have someone, they probably know someone that they can direct you to. And my guess is within a few phone calls, you will have somebody that will allow you boots on the ground to begin to serve.
Yeah, I love that. Get your leadership team together and figure out, what do you care about? Because, if you're passionate about something, it's much easier to get everybody aligned towards that giving that. And then, there's so much needs out here. We talked to somebody earlier that focuses on providing food, and she used the term food insecurity or food fear. Right. And it's never been higher.
Right.
The fact that we have people in our communities that don't have food.
Yep.
They're trying to decide whether to pay the rent or to put groceries on the table, and that should break our hearts. A company that our country is affluent as ours. So, and with kids, same thing. I mean, I've got 6 grandkids. Dave, I know you have grandkids, and
Yes.
to think about them having nobody to care about them, and that you guys are doing that is amazing. So, what does it take to get involved as a mentor? Do you have to have a vetting process, training? What if somebody's like, I don't know how to do this?
So the mentoring one is a little bit different because of the nature of it being one-on-one with kids. We have a pretty extensive background check policy that somebody has to go through.
Sure.
Because we have a responsibility to, one, we want to give you an ability to make a difference and help. We also have to protect kids. We live in a world where you can't take anything for granted. So that's a little bit more tricky, but if you pass the background checks, then we do some training for you, teach you a little bit of how to do mentoring well, what we've learned. Our program uses a lot of what's called evidence-based practices. And so we want you to know, hey, what is the best way to mentor? Because a lot of people have tried it, done it. And I would say, again, just doing it is great. But part of what we want to do, one of our core values is to be skilled at what we do. We want our volunteers to know how to mentor well. So we give them some training, and then we go through a matching process where we interview kids, we interview the mentor, and it's not just like, hey, pick a kid out of the group that seems nice. What we do is we really put a kid and an adult together that we know is going to work so that it can have the best chance of success. So that's how we do it. Other programs do it differently, but that's the best way to do mentoring technically.
The heartbeat there is what's best for the kid.
Exactly.
Right. That's got to be the motor.
Yeah.
And you talked a little bit about foster care, foster families. I've got exposure with that. One of my daughters and son-in-law, they adopted out of foster care.
Right.
Our youngest grandson is part of our family now because he came out of that. And I know several people that are involved in foster care. It is an incredible need, and there's not enough.
Right.
The people that have a heartbeat for it are overwhelmed. So how do you guys come alongside and support foster care and foster families?
Because we've been working with the system with the children already, one of the things when we started, we knew from the very beginning that the foster care parents are the ones that are out on the island. And often the most important people in the entire system are the last ones thought about by the system. And so from the very beginning, we said, we're going to have to just commit to supporting them. We got to do that really well. And we got to commit to doing that, or let's not do it at all.
Yeah.
Because they have to be taken care of.
Out on an island is a good way to put it, because I mean, it's incredibly difficult to, fostering, particularly if you start getting emotionally attached to a child, then they're back with their natural parents, then back in foster care, then back, and then think about that kid, the impact they're going to have. So what you guys do is just amazing and selfless, and it's really well needed. And anything else you want to say about Release, and what's your core mission statement, or anything at all you want to do to educate those that may be listening in?
Yeah. I mean, I think the thing that we would want people to know about Release is that we are trying to do the work of God to the best of our ability. That He's given us a mission that we would like to see people move from being unsafe to safe, to being together, to being connected with other people. We believe that people who are safe and they're connected, they get healthy. And then we believe healthy people were meant to be free. Yeah. And so our motto is safe together, healthy, free, because that's, as we've done this over the years, we've seen that's the path that God has shown us, is that.
What was that again, Garrett? Is
safe, together, healthy, and free. So
safe.
Yeah, the idea is that when a person's basic needs aren't met, it is very hard for them to think about anything other than survival, right? If you don't know if you're going to be killed or if you have food, you can't really think about what your career might be. So first we have to help people get safe. Once they're safe, we recognize that we were meant for connection. So we meet them where they're at, and we build relationships, we mentor in different formats, and people need to be together. Nobody can do this world alone. It's just too much. If you think about the average person who goes to college, how many times they need to call their mom because there's just something that came up that they didn't know about, or they have a bad day and they call their dad, right? Like, people were meant to need people. We weren't meant to just like go out into the world and figure it out on our own.
Right.
And so we provide that for people who didn't have that. A lot of things that we're working with is poverty, and something that people think of poverty as a lack of money, but it's better to think of poverty as a lack of resources together. So when we talk about resources, we're talking about emotional resources, relational resources, spiritual resources, physical resources. And so that's a together problem. And when people come together with people, we share our resources with them. Maybe I don't give you my money, but I can give you my knowledge from having tried to get a job myself and getting rejected, and how you get back up on your feet and try again, or whatever the problem is, right?
Right.
So safe together. The next thing is people who are connected, sharing resources, they get healthy. We move from a natural state of brokenness to healed through those connected relationships. Specifically, we believe when the gospel is part of that equation.
Yeah.
After they're healthy, we believe that then we become free, and that lets us to live out our purpose that God built us for. And the awesome thing about free people is they help other people be safe. They help other people be together. They help other people be free. And then the process of helping people, we become healthy, we become more free. And that's kind of God's plan.
Yeah, I love that. And, again, it's important that people understand that there is a large swath of our population that does not live in a place that is even safe, across all the spectrum. So just like before we were talking about people that don't have food, there are people that, and we take it for granted, more the affluent, we wouldn't think of, our kids not being safe, but there's so many out there that, they need to be safe, they need to be provided for, so that it's so easy for us to be, to critique that and go, why don't they do better in school? Why don't they get a job? Why don't they do this or that? And it's like basic foundational needs have to be met first. So you guys are doing that, and we appreciate it. Appreciate what you've done, Dave and Garrett and your organization. We're going to continue to be proud partners of what you guys do. We want to encourage you out there, as we've done these series, that hopefully inspire somebody to get involved. Talk to your leadership team. What do you care about? What are your core values as a company? Give back to your local community with your time, treasure, and talent. It's really important. And again, this is not what we normally talk about on this podcast, but it's important. And at the end of the day, it matters more than any business tips or organizational structure or staffing we could talk about. These things are really important. So we appreciate you joining us on the Skillwork Forum very much, and appreciate you joining us. And as always, if you're interested in what we do as a business, if you need great skilled trades, men and women that can come in and help your organization, we'd love to talk to you about that. Talk to you about how we've gotten involved to give back to our community, or any of these other topics that we normally discuss on the podcast. If you like this, or you're interested in more of the content, go out there, Spotify, YouTube, or on social media, give us ideas or subscribe. That helps us put more content out there like this. So thank you, gentlemen, for joining us today. Really appreciate that. And God bless you guys until next time.
This is Brett Elliott, CEO and co-founder at Skillwork. Prior to starting Skillwork, I spent over 30 years in the food manufacturing space. From literally starting out cleaning the restrooms to becoming the maintenance manager, then the plant manager, to eventually becoming the president and owner, I've seen the manufacturing world from many perspectives. And like many of you, I've seen firsthand the growing need for higher skilled workers, while at the same time experiencing the shortage of this skilled talent. I started Skillwork to address that need. I knew the headhunter and the local temp agency models were not the solution. If you're experiencing the same shortage of talent at your facility, we would love to connect you with our team. Give us a call at 402-447-7058 or visit us online at skillwork.com.